Hi, it's Jackie with Panama Relocation Tours, and thank you so much for joining me for our Saturday Retire in Panama Q&A call or live stream. This is your chance to get answers to your questions about moving to and living in Panama. But before we get started on that, for the benefit of people that are new to our Saturday live streams, I want to give just a little bit of background about who I am and also Panama Relocation Tours. My name's Jackie Lang. I moved to Panama, first came to Panama in 2010, fell in love with the country and moved here. And shortly after I moved here, friends started asking me, why Panama? So I said, you just have to see it. You have to see what a beautiful country it is. So I did a little tour for 8 friends, and then that turned into me starting Panama Relocation Tours in 2010. We're currently, today, we're doing tour number 207. So we have a lot of experience doing the relocation tours. We've helped thousands of people have a smooth move to Panama. These are all-inclusive 6-day, 7-night tours that show you all the most popular places to live. While it's a rolling seminar, while we're driving from one location to the other, we're on a microphone and teaching you all the things you need to know so that you can move here with confidence and have a very smooth move when you get here. We also have something called our online guide or the complete Panama relocation guide, which has much of the same information for those that prefer to do it yourself, without going on a tour or just explore different areas. And we offer private tours in different areas around Panama too. If you know you want to live at the beach, then you can take a private tour of just beach areas. If you know you want to live in Volcan or you want to live in Hawaii, we have private tours of all the most popular places to live. So we give you a lot of different choices of how you can explore Panama. And it's really important if you're thinking about moving to Panama. Of course, like I said in the email I sent out yesterday, start with a lot of research to even see if Panama is the kind of place that you would want to live. And then once you've determined that it has the things you need and that it has the prices that you want and the weather that you want, by the way, no snow in Panama, no tornadoes either, then the next step is for you to come and explore it, either on one of our all-inclusive tours, a private tour, or just come and explore it on your own. But before you pack your bags and move to Panama, you need to come and see the country and make sure that it fits your needs and that you find the place that feels like home. So let me tell you how these Q&As work. It's not possible for you to click a button and then I open up the microphone and you're able to ask me your question verbally. Instead, you have to type it into our little chat window that you see over on the side where we have a lot of people having a little conversation over there. And thank you, Chuck and Debbie, for being here as our moderator. Thanks very much. By the way, Debbie is helping with the tour right now, so she's just got a little bit of break before she leaves for dinner with the tour group. So to ask your question, I'm asking you to please type 3 question marks in front of your question. That way it's easy for me to identify that it's a question, and I'll pop it up on the screen and then I'll answer it for you. So if anybody has a question for me, all you need to do is type 3 question marks in front of your question and then type it in right over in the chat window. I know before we got started, somebody asked a question if we had caiman and crocodiles and things like that in Panama. And yes, we definitely do have those. I've seen them. I've actually seen them in the Coronado area, and I've also seen them around the Coronado Gulf. There's some ponds that are on either side of the road to go into it, and I've seen caiman over there. I've also seen them in the Azuera when we were driving, like from Las Tablas to Playa Ubarito. There's a big pond, and I've seen some caiman and crocodiles over there too. So you're definitely going to have them, not in the ocean, but in the different ponds and rivers, and you might run across them. Also, one time my daughter and I took an Embera village tour where we got on a dugout canoe and we drove some people in a loincloth, drove us about an hour and a half way back into the jungle. And so we were going really slow, and up in the trees, we could see snakes, we could see birds. We saw caiman that were coming at us, so we saw all kinds of things. Luckily, we were in a canoe, and we had people that knew exactly what to do if they got too close, but you're going to find that here. It's part of the fun of living in the tropics, is you're going to see great stuff like that. So our first question is from Mark. I only caught part of an answer during another webcast. It had to do with expats being able to sell items, artwork in local markets. Mark, you can definitely sell items in the local markets if you have a work permit. If you don't have a work permit, then you cannot sell any products or services in Panama. Instead, you're going to have to assign your products to someone else for them to sell it for you. Panamanians are not required to have a work permit, so you could hire a Panamanian to sell it for you at the local market, but you would not be able to sell it. Another question from Monique. By the way, Monique is from London, and she's here every single Saturday. Thank you so much, Monique. Part of the process of obtaining the pensionado visa is a medical certificate. Can you say a bit about that and what the medical check is like? So the reality is, Monique, that your attorney will take care of all of that for you. And I don't know of any times at all that you actually have to go see a doctor, that they do any checks. They don't do blood pressure check or any of those things. Your attorney is going to ask you some questions, like if you have any transmittable diseases and things like that. And as long as you say no, then you're going to get your health certificate. Your attorney takes care of all that for you without even visiting a doctor. I don't know of anyone that's had to visit a doctor for it. Only exception is when you're getting your driver's license, and if you're 70 or older, then you do have to actually go see a doctor, but that's a different subject. So Wally wants to know that, do they treat elderly over 80 years old badly? Not in Panama. In Panama, as in most Latin American countries, senior citizens are actually held up on a pedestal. I've seen situations where, like, I was driving by a grocery store and there was an elderly lady that was all bent over with a cane that had bought a little bag of groceries and needed to go across the street. And people got out and stopped the traffic all the way, and people got out of their car and assisted her to get across the street. She was probably more than 80 years old, but that's the kind of treatment that senior citizens will get here in Panama. So they're not going to be treated badly. Micah wants to know, if you retire in Panama, are you allowed to work part-time in Panama? If you're retired in Panama and you get the pensionado visa, you're not allowed to work in Panama at all. But if you get the pensionado visa, you can have an online business that sells products or services outside of Panama. You just can't sell anything in Panama. If you know you want to work in Panama, then it's better not to get the pensionado visa. You need to go with a friendly nation visa instead, and there's some affordable options. You can get that visa for about $5,000. You get a work permit, and then you can work in Panama. But I can tell you, part-time work in Panama, minimum wage here is about $2.35 an hour. So wages are not very good here in Panama. You do much better getting some kind of an online job that you want to do part-time. Check out a website called Upwork, upwork.com, and you can see part-time jobs listed in there, and then you wouldn't have to have a work permit because it's not working in Panama. And how long do you have to live in Panama to become a citizen? Well, that's not how it works. Once you get your permanent visa, 5 years after you get your permanent visa, then you can apply for citizenship. You don't automatically get it. You have to apply for it. And part of that application is you have to have an interview in Spanish on why you want to become a Panamanian citizen. And then you have to take a test in Spanish and be able to answer some history questions. They do have a study guide that you can take. And then if you pass the test, if you get, I think you have to have at least a 75 on it, then you can get your citizenship in Panama, but only 5 years after you have your permanent visa. Larry wants to know, we have booked our tour for August 4th and purchased our airfare. Thank you very much, Larry. We bought non-refundable tickets on Copa. Is there any chance the tour being canceled? There's absolutely no chance that the tour would be canceled unless the country gets shut down. for some reason, and I can't imagine any reason that it would happen, but I believe that tour is almost completely sold out. And even if it wasn't sold out, if we just had 4 people on the tour, we would still do it. We would never cancel a tour because it's not sold out. So we won't cancel it. Any update on Medicare with no upfront cost? So, yep, the latest news is Medicare with no upfront cost is not going to be available yet in Panama. We don't have that worked out. We're still working on it. There are some other healthcare plans, not Medicare, but some other plans that we've done some webinars about. And on some of those, you're able to assign your benefits to the hospital and they do the filing for you, but not with Medicare. Medicare doesn't allow that just yet, but we're still working on it. Don't you worry, I'm still working on it. I'm not going to give up till I make it happen. Brenda wants to know, if a friend and I go in half on a property, can we both apply for residency? Nope, you can't apply for residency. You'd have to do it individually. But if you both go in halvesies on the property, it's not going to work. Whenever you get, if you were married, then it would work, but if friends, it's not going to work. You would each have to qualify individually to get a residency visa. Let's see, I think I already answered that question. I'm just looking for the 3 question marks here. Remember, if you have a question for me, please put 3 question marks in front of it so I can quickly and easily identify it as a question. Thank you for the chat. What are the average cost of the Panamanian attorneys charging for retirement residency visa? Well, that depends on which attorney that you use. If you use the attorneys that we recommend in our complete Panama relocation guide, or the ones that we give you the information during the tour, they charge for the retirement visa $1,100. If you go with some of the other attorneys that are out there, they charge $1,900, $2,800 for the very same visa. So coming on our tour is going to save you a lot of money, or buying our online guide is going to save you a lot of money, because I've negotiated discounts for you to get a better price for getting a visa. Kelly wants to know, is there an allergy season in Panama? You know, I have never experienced that. Before we moved to Panama, my husband had terrible allergies. He even had to get injections like once a month because his allergies were so bad in Texas. And when we moved to Panama, his allergies completely went away. There may be some people here that do have allergy problems, but I don't know. I haven't heard of that. I know I don't. And my husband's went away when he moved to Panama. Mark says, please describe the mail system or lack thereof. I can easily describe that. There is no mail system. There is no mail delivery that goes to your house in Panama. And a lot of places don't even have an address, so even if they had it, it would be difficult to do. So no mail is going to be delivered to your address. If you need to get a letter, like if I needed to get a letter from Panama City to Volcan, there are in-country courier services that you can use to get mail moved around in-country, but any mail that's going to come from outside of the country, you have to use a mail forwarding company who will give you an address in Florida, and any mail that you want to get in Panama, or Amazon package or birthday presents from your kids, it has to be sent to the Florida address first, and then it's sent to the town where you live. If you go to our website, Panama Relocation Tours, and you type in the upper right-hand corner, type in the search feature mail forwarding, then there's a lot more detail about that. If I came in September to process my visa, is there an awkward time to find a longer term rental since the holiday price surges start in November? Hope that makes sense. So yes, we have a high season and a low season in Panama. High season, or whenever the snowbirds come down from Canada and sometimes the prices go up, that actually starts about the middle of December. So and many of them have already rented their homes for December. But if you come in November, you're not going to have to worry about price increases. One thing that you want to be careful of is make sure that when you do sign a lease on a property, that your lease does not expire during high season, which is between about the middle of December all the way till the middle of April, because sometimes there's less rentals available during those months, and also the prices could be a little bit higher during those months. But November is a perfect time to come and look for a rental. What are the, let's see, what are the requirements for a permanent visa? So for a permanent visa, it depends on which one, but if you're getting the pensionado visa, you need to prove that you have at least $1,000 a month in lifetime income, like pension from your job or Social Security or military retirement. You need to have a clean national criminal report, like an FBI report or RCMP. And that's it. That's all you need. You're going to have to get a couple of passport pictures, and but it's super easy, but those are the requirements. So Paula says, is it difficult to have your SSI directly deposited into Panama Bank? Is it secure? So yes, you can have your Social Security direct deposited into Panama Bank. On the Social Security website, there's a form that you fill out. If you're already living in Panama, then you would send that form to the Social Security office. It's in Costa Rica because there is no Social Security office here at the U.S. Embassy in Panama City. So you send those forms and then it goes right to your Panama bank account. There is one thing that you need to know that is a consequence of having your Social Security direct deposited into your Panama bank. Every 2 years, you have to fill out a proof of life form. They'll send you that form by email, or they can mail it to you, either way. And you have to send in that form to prove that you're still alive. If your check goes to U.S. bank, that's not required. But if it's going to a foreign bank account, then that's required. Okay, question here. Coming soon for my 3-week reconnaissance trip to visit the 4 places I researched. Plan to rent a car in Panama City and drive to the 4 places. Advice on managing the liability insurance issue. So the car rental places in Panama are going to require that you buy car insurance from them, and it can be quite expensive. It can even cost more than the car rental. So you might see things advertised like for Thrifty that say, oh, it's $10 a day. But that doesn't count the $40 a day that they're going to charge for the insurance. So you need to find out what the insurance prices are going to be up front. So I'm getting to these questions as fast as I can. Renee, can I use a debit card in Panama for cash? You can use a debit card in Panama. You can use it to pay for things. You can also go to an ATM machine and get cash. However, in Panama, you can only get $250 per transaction, and they charge $6.25 for that. So know that in advance. Jim wants to know, first timer here. Thanks for joining us, Jim. My fiance doesn't speak English. Is any part of the tour in Spanish? So no part of the tour is in Spanish of our 6-day, 7-night tour. However, many of our private tour guides speak fluent English and fluent Spanish. So I would recommend that you do a private tour instead. Do a little bit of research on our website and narrow down the top 2, 3, or 4 places that you want to explore, and then go with a private tour with one of our guides that's bilingual. Brenda says, which beach towns have accreditation in international schools? So the beach towns that have the international schools that are accredited would be around the Coronado area, and there's 5 international schools there. If you just do a Google search for international schools, Coronado, Panama, then I'm sure a list of those would come up. We actually did a live stream with a couple that had their son in 2 different international schools there, and so you might look for that. And we did another live stream with a couple that moved here with, I think, 3 or 4 kids, and a couple of them were in international schools and some were doing homeschooling. Are credit cards accepted in the Boquete area? Credit cards accepted in most places, but some places they only take cash. So you need to always have, at least $40, $50, $100 in cash with you, because some restaurants only take cash and some vendors only take cash. If you have a pensionado visa, do you need a work permit to rent your second property or casita? Yes, you do. If you're going to be, that's considered work. Go through our live streams on our YouTube channel. And I did an interview with an immigration attorney, and it's called Who Needs a Work Permit? And that it will give you a lot of information about who needs a work permit and what things you might be doing, like renting out a property, part-time jobs, selling things at the Tuesday market, and who needs a work permit. Tim wants to know, are there any Panama banks that have accounts in Canadian dollars? I'd prefer to use, no, there's no banks that have their account in Canadian dollars, and that's because Panama has used the US dollar as their currency for about 120 years now, and they only use US dollars. Are both Pacifica Salud hospitals the same with reference to healthcare treatments? I'm not sure I understand the question, but the Pacifica Salud is an excellent hospital, very good hospital. We visit that hospital during our Panama relocation tours on Saturday. You get a tour of that hospital, and everybody's always amazed to see how modern it is. Are apples grown in Panama? Nope, they don't grow apples in Panama, but they are readily available. They import them. Jackie, I've been communicating with Mike Kelly with Expat Health. He has been very helpful. I'm still researching to try to find doctors that does stem cell. Well, you don't need to do that, Ava, because if you just do a research for stem cell Panama, there's a whole stem cell facility that's in the City of Knowledge in Clayton. And that's where you can go to get stem cells. So Mike might not know about that, but I can tell you, I believe the website is Cell Medicine, CELL Medicine. But if you just do a research, then you'll find it. Actually, there's actually a bunch of YouTube videos of people giving testimonials about amazing cures that they had doing stem cells. Let's see. No other question. Do you need a temporary driving license to drive while on vacation? When you're on vacation in Panama, you can drive with your foreign license the first 90 days that you're in Panama, but you can only use your foreign license for 90 days. After that, you can't drive in Panama until you get a Panamanian driver's license, and you can't get that until you get your visa. Buying a home for $200,000 or more are excluded from the property tax. So some of the houses in Panama have what's called a tax exoneration, which means there's no property taxes for a certain amount of time. But some of the properties do. It depends on when it was built. Your attorney that is helping you with that purchase can find out if there's a tax exoneration on the property. Mark says, I've been hearing Panama beef isn't quite what we have here in the States. Is that different? Well, I don't hardly ever eat beef, and I never buy it and have it here at home. Once in a while, I'll go out to a really nice steakhouse, and I'll have an amazing steak here in Panama. I think the thing is you have to know how to cook it. The cooking may be a little bit different here, but I just don't buy beef hardly ever, so I'm afraid I don't know the answer. Sensitive questions: safety, ATM kidnapping, mugging, breaks-in. Are those overhyped or concerned? If you're, that's not in Panama. There's never ever been that I'm aware of any ATM kidnappings. There are break-ins that happen in houses once in a while, but it's pretty rare that houses are broken into. I've been here since 13 years. My house has never been broken into. I've never been mugged. I've never had a problem in an ATM machine, and I've never felt unsafe in Panama. Even in Panama City and being all over the country, I've never felt not safe. Neil Reardon is an expert with stem cells. I believe Neil is with that Stem Cell Institute that's in the City of Knowledge in Clayton. Can you recommend a translation language app? Just use Google Translate. That's what everybody else uses. It works quick and easy. We have been in Panama numerous times. How many months prior to the move do you recommend us doing the tour? So I would recommend that you do the tour a year before you plan to actually move, or maybe even 2 years before you plan to move, just so that you can get familiar with the country and decide which area that you like best. So do that 2 years before. And then once you narrow it down to the 1 or 2 towns that you like the best, then a year before you move here, come and spend a little bit more time in that town, perhaps do one of our private tours to do a deep dive into learning more about it. Joseph wants to know if firearms are legal. Yes, you can legally own a firearm after you get a gun permit. To get a gun permit, you can't do that until you have your permanent visa, and then it's quite a lengthy process. We have the step-by-step details all about getting a gun permit in our complete Panama relocation guide. But once you get your gun permit, then you can go to a gun store, you can buy a gun, take possession of it, and it's automatically concealed carry. Hey, Jackie, I noticed your daughter helps you with your tours. How difficult was it for her to get a visa of a 25-year-old daughter? So my daughter does have a Friendly Nations visa, but she doesn't live in Panama full-time. She lives in Texas most of the time, but she lives in Panama. I mean, she lives in Panama part of the year. She lives in Texas part of the year. She has a Friendly Nation visa and a work permit, but you have to have a work permit if you're going to work in Panama. Does buying a house for $120,000 or less still save you from paying any property taxes? Yes, it would still save you from paying property taxes. Which area of Panama gets good amount of sunlight and rain at the same time and close to the beach? So I would say the area that gets the most sunlight and the least amount of rain and is close to the beach would be on the Azuara. The eastern Azuara gets much less rain than the western Azuara. So the eastern Azuara, that area between Chitre and Las Tablas, even down to Pedicey, there's a lot of beaches all along there, and that would be the perfect place for you. Is Coronado a good base location to explore potential final locations? So if you want to live at the beach, and if you want everything to be a little bit more Americanized, then definitely Coronado would be a good location. If you don't want to live at the beach, if you don't like hot weather and humid weather, then Coronado would not be a good place. So it depends on what you're actually looking for. Mark wants to know if there's liquor stores in Boquete. Well, they sell liquor at the grocery store. So at the grocery store, you can buy wine, you can buy whiskey, you can buy rum, you can buy all those things at the grocery store. My girlfriend is taking your tour in May. My husband and I will be in Vistamar starting in April. Will we be able to meet her for lunch without interrupting her tour? Ava, if you'll send me an email to info@panamarelocationtours.com, then we can invite you to the lunch that we do on Sunday. We're usually in Gorgona on Sunday, so if you can come over to Gorgona, then you could join us for lunch, and then you'd be able to see your friend. Frank wants to know, when we arrive there for our permanent move at the airport, I know we have to have a return ticket, but what do we tell immigration and PTY if we're immigrating there or on vacation? So if you don't have a visa already, then you're going to have a return ticket. And the return ticket, they're not going to ask for that in Panama. When you board the flight to go to Panama, then the ticket agents there are not going to let you board the flight. They won't issue a boarding pass unless you show them that you have a ticket leaving Panama within 6 months. But Panama, when you get to Panama and immigration, they're not going to even ask for that because they know that it's required of the ticket agents in the other countries to get that. Do you have the correct message if I do online home office for a company in another country? So if you do online work for a company in a different country and you're not selling any products or any services in Panama, then you do not need a work permit. Do most expats hold both U.S. visas and pension visas? So most expats, they do not renounce their citizenship from the country that they moved from. They still have their passport and their citizenship for the other country, and they just have a residency visa in Panama. The residency visa gives them permission to live in Panama indefinitely, but it does not grant citizenship. Is there still a lot of protesting going on around the country? No, there's not. There was some protesting last month. A company over close to Bocas del Toro hadn't gotten paid for a project, so they blocked the roads to go to Bocas del Toro. But since then, haven't heard of any protests going on. What area has the best both elevation, mountain, and still close to the beach life? So that's not going to work. So if you want to be in the mountains, you're going to be in the mountains. If you want to be at the beach, you're going to be at the beach. But there's not actually any mountains that are close to the beach. If you're in El Valle, you're about an hour to a beach. If you live in Boquete, you're about an hour and a half to get to a beach. If you live in Volcan, you're about 2 hours to get to a beach. Leland, see you June the 9th. That's great, Leland. We can't wait to show you how amazing Panama is. What's the difference between getting a pensionado and a jubilado discount? The pensionado and the jubilado discount are exactly the same thing. Most of the people in Panama, they call it a jubilado discount, but you get the jubilado discount because you got the pensionado visa. So, but if you go to restaurants or pharmacy or things like that, you can use either word, pensionado or jubilado, and they'll understand what you're talking about. If you have a temporary visa, do you need a return airline ticket? Nope. If you have a temporary visa, you do not need a return airline ticket. You can fly here on a one-way ticket. A bit offbeat, I know there's a beekeeping business farm in Boquete. Are they any beekeeping organizations? I don't know, but I bet Google is your friend, and Google may be able to show up something. Can you talk about the crime rates in Panama? So I don't, I'm sure there are some websites out there that have statistics on crime in Panama, and you can't just say in Panama. If you're talking about in Boquete, crime is extremely low. It's very seldom. Volcan, it's very seldom. If you're talking about Pasacanoas, the border between Costa Rica and Panama, that town, there's a little bit more crime. If you're talking about Colón, it has the highest crime rate in all of Panama. So instead of talking about crime rate in Panama, you need to talk about the crime rate in a particular town. One of the ways that you can find out about that is there's different Facebook websites that are groups that you can go to. For example, Chiriquí province is Volcan, David, Boquete, and there's a website, a Facebook group called Chiriquí Notices, and it talks about the crime that happens. If you're in the Azuera, there's Azuera Notices, Panama City Notices. So if you follow those, then you can see what kind of crime is going on in those different areas. How high is your income tax percent? So the income tax depends on what your income is, whether you're in Panama or whether you're, some people, I have to pay taxes in Panama and I have to pay taxes in the US. So it just depends on what your income level is. In our complete Panama relocation guide, we have a whole section on taxes in Panama and what the tax rates are for each one of the different income brackets. If you make less than $11,000 a year, then you're not going to pay taxes. But over that, you do pay taxes. And we have the complete chart in our online Panama relocation guide. Do they have a doctor that treats people with sickle cell? I would imagine that they do, but I don't know the answer to that. You might contact expathealthservices.com and set up a $35 telemedicine with a Panamanian doctor, and they can give you details about if that can be treated and who the specialists are that treat it. Can spouse work if the other spouse has a pensionado visa? Nope. The spouse cannot work unless they have a visa that allows them to get a work permit. Nobody, no foreigners can work in Panama unless they have a work permit. Other than U.S. Social Security and certified pension, what other retirement programs or SSDI qualify for pensionado visa? The other thing that qualifies for the pensionado visa is if you have a military retirement, then that counts. But that's it, Social Security, pension from a job, or military retirement. Are there chiropractors in Panama? Yes, there are chiropractors in Panama. Not in every town, but in some towns there are chiropractors. Jerry wants to know, is there some English newspaper online where we could stay in touch? Yes, there is. PLEnglish.com. That's the La Prensa newspaper, but it's in English. You can also, there's a website called newsroompanama.com, and that has news in English also. So those are two suggestions for you. Is there sales tax in Panama? Yes, there's a 7% sales tax on many items. Some things like alcohol and cigarettes are 10 or 15% tax, but most things there's a 7% sales tax. I have a New York City pension. I pay federal tax only. Will I be taxed again in Panama? Same applies for Social Security. No, you're not going to be taxed in Panama. Panama has a territorial taxing system, and that means you're only taxed on the money that you make, that you earn selling products or selling services in Panama. But any money that you make outside of Panama, like an online job outside of Panama, pension earned outside of Panama, you don't pay any Panama taxes on that. Can you speak to the difficulty with shipping a container to Panama? So I personally have never shipped a shipping container, but hundreds of our clients have. And it's really very simple. It all starts with a phone call or an email to one of the international movers that we recommend. They come to your house. They give you an estimate on what it's going to cost. You set a pickup date on when they're going to pick everything up and load it up. About 3 weeks later, it's in Panama. Most of them do door to door, which keeps it super simple for you. Can you name a health insurance and a dental? So with health insurance, dental is not included. They only do health. There is no dental insurance available, but it's really cheap for dental work in Panama. I apologize if this has been asked. What are the income requirements for a pensionado visa? For the pensionado visa, the income requirements are $1,000 US dollars per month for one person, and then for each dependent, so if you have a spouse, you would add another $250. So for a couple, it would be $1,250. For one person, it's $1,000 a month. What do you suggest for a time frame to visit before you plan moving there? I would say that you should come 2 years before and visit Panama and make sure it's right for you. If it's not, that gives you plenty of time to go explore some other countries. But if you determine it is right for you, then you can decide on which towns you like the best and come back a year before to do a deep dive into those towns. Larry says, I've heard smoking is not allowed in Panama. That's true. Smoking is not allowed in public in Panama. In hotels, there's no smoking allowed. Casinos, no smoking allowed. Restaurants, no smoking allowed, although some of them do allow it on an outdoor patio. But Panama is considered a smoke-free country, and they don't allow smoking outside. You can't be walking down the street and smoking a cigarette, or walking on the beach and smoking a cigarette. The Panama Clinic confirmed that if I needed care, all I need is a promise to pay letter from the Federal Blue Cross, and they would direct bill. Blue Cross confirmed. Is this something new? No, it's not something new. For the Panama Clinic, they do, it's what it is you're assigning your benefits to them, and then they'll do the filing, and they will do that for Federal Blue Cross. They'll do it for some other insurances too, but they don't do it for Medicare. Please explain the jubilado discount. Jubilado discount is something that you get whenever you have a pensionado visa, or if you get a different visa and you're a woman and you're at least 55, or a man and you're at least 60, then you get a discount. And you get a discount on a lot of different things. For example, any restaurant, 20% off, 50% off if you go to a movie theater, 25% off on your utility bills. You get 15% off at fast food restaurants like McDonald's, and 20% off when you go to the doctor. So there's all kinds of discounts that you get. If you go to our website, PanamaRelocationTours.com, and in the upper right-hand corner, type in pensionado discounts, then we have an article with a complete list of all of the things that you can get a discount on. Once again, if anybody has a question for me, all you need to do is type 3 question marks in front of your question. And when I see that, then I'll pop it up and I'll answer your question. I believe Panama has linked their currency one-on-one with the US dollar. How is US inflation affecting prices in Panama? So US inflation has really no impact on Panama at all, because Panama doesn't print any money. Panama has to sell something, a product or a service, like going through the Panama Canal, for them to get any money into the Panama. So yes, there's been inflation in Panama, but nothing like what it is in the United States. Paul says, can you please elaborate on building contractors that have been used by those who have built a home? So I can tell you that the majority of the people that I know that built a home, I would say 80% of them had not a very good experience with a building contractor. Only about 20% that I know of, that I personally know, have had a good experience. So before you hire a building contractor, you need to get a lot of references from people. You need to go and physically see the house that they built. You need to have your attorney investigate to see if they have any lawsuits against them. I know one builder right now that has about 15 lawsuits against him. It would be much easier to buy an existing home than to have a home built. Be very careful building a home. What's the most commonly used healthcare provider for expats? So there's not. You know, many expats here, they'll get the family medical plan. Some people want to go with a worldwide plan. And we have an article. If you go to our website and type in health insurance options, then we have a list of some of the different ones and a link to a brochure about each one of the options that are available. We're arriving on May 15th, staying in Airbnb the first 30 days. How difficult will it be for us to find a home with a yard for a dog to rent, 3-bedroom, 2-bath? So it's got to be easy for you to find a home for you to rent that's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath that will accept your pets. Finding a home with a yard is going to be the hard part. Most of the homes in Panama do not have, they're going to have a yard, but it won't have a fence around it. So if you're looking for something with a fence, that's going to be hard. You might have to put up a temporary fence of your own. Are IRS records required? So yes, IRS records are required in Panama if you're going to open a bank account. You have to show your last 2 years of tax returns and that you don't owe any taxes, or you're not going to be able to open up a bank account in Panama. But as far as qualifying for a visa, you don't need to show your IRS records for that. So you're in Vistamar, we're going to research where to live. We rent it for 1 year. Can you cancel your lease? So by law in Panama, a tenant can get out of their lease with a 30-day notice. So yes, you can get out of your lease. However, if you break your lease, the landlord gets to keep the deposit that you put up. So you're going to lose your deposit, but at least you're not liable for all of those other payments. Do you know of any expats who have bought or started a coffee farm? Yes, there's several expats here in the Boquete area that have bought a coffee farm and they still own the coffee farm. Dos Jefries is one of the biggest coffee farms here in Panama, and it's owned by expat. Also, Price Peterson, he moved here like 65, 70 years ago, and he has many different coffee farms all over the country. But expats do own coffee farms. I'm new here. Thanks for joining us, Gladys. A retired military. Are there any VA hospitals in Panama? There are no VA hospitals or VA clinics in Panama. However, there are some hospitals that you can go to. There's one in Panama City called Hospital Breezes, and they specialize in helping veterans. So if you have TRICARE or something like that with a retired military, you'll have TRICARE. You can get medical care there, and they'll bill TRICARE for you directly. Also, there's pharmacies, I think 13 pharmacies throughout the country, that if you have any medications that you get, they'll deliver them directly to your house, and they'll bill the VA or TRICARE. So even though there's not a VA hospital, there are veterans benefits. On our website, Panama Relocation Tours, at the upper right-hand corner, type in veterans benefits, and you'll see all the things that are available to you here in Panama. So Chris says, how hard is it to work when you move there? Do you need a specific visa? So if you're going to start your own business, there's a lot of different visas. There's like 15 different visas. If you want to start a business and you're the sole employee, then I would say go with a Friendly Nation visa where you set up a corporation. If you are going to start some kind of business where you plan to hire Panamanians employees, then there's a business visa. I believe it's $160,000 for that, and you have to hire 5 Panamanians. The best thing to do is talk to an immigration attorney about what it is you plan to do in Panama, and then they can point you in the right direction of which visa is the best one for you. Wanda says, I was considering purchasing a condo in Coronado. Have there been complaints about upkeep and maintenance of condos in Panama? Yes, there has been. On some of the buildings, there has been complaints about faulty wiring, faulty construction, deferred maintenance, and there's HOA, most of those, and they get the funds, and then the funds are not being dispersed like they should be. So you definitely need to do a lot of research before you jump into buying a condo anywhere, not just in Panama, but that goes for anywhere. I'm in Volcan Rental Group on Facebook. I haven't seen many posts about available homes. Should I consider another city? So, the thing is that a lot of rentals in Volcan or in Boquete or wherever, they never show up on Facebook. You're never going to see them on the internet. You're never going to see them on a real estate website. But if you're in town and you go to some restaurants, you say, hey, I'm looking for a rental, they're going to say, oh, I know about this one, this one, this one. They know all kinds of stuff, but it's never going to be on the Volcan Rental Group. Like just today, I got information about 3 new rental properties in the Boquete area, and they're not on Facebook anywhere. They're not posted anywhere, but I know about them. So boots on the ground is the way you find something. And that is a little bit complicated because some people, they want to know where they're going to move to before they come here. So the best thing to do is come to Panama, get an Airbnb or stay in a hotel for a couple of weeks, and then do your boots on the ground to actually physically go look at the different properties. But Facebook, it's probably 10% of the rentals that are actually available. Brendan wants to know, do you do the relocation tours in Mexico also? So I don't do that. My daughter-in-law, Mariana, she has the Mexico relocation guide, and they don't do the relocation tours like we do, the 6 day, 7 night, because Mexico's just too big. But they do have private tours in all of the different areas that are available that people like to move to in Mexico. So check out Mexico Relocation Guide for information about Mexico. I'm not involved in that. That's my daughter-in-law's business. She's from Mexico. Any chance of a Walmart or Sam's coming to Panama? Nope, they've been trying to come to Panama for a long time, and Panama says no, because they know that it would hurt some of the mom and pop shops and Panamanian businesses that are here if some company like that came. So I think the chances of it happening are very slim. We're coming to visit or explore for 2 weeks, April 15th. How much coffee can we pack back to the U.S.? Hope we cross paths also. So I have heard that the most you can take back is 10 pounds of coffee, but I know other people that have taken 15 pounds of coffee in their suitcase. So I would say 10 pounds would probably be the limit. A lot of the Panama coffee is actually available on Amazon, and you can order it right there. So that's something to check out too. I'm in my 40s. I'm self-employed consultant looking to relocate to Panama. My income will be generated in the U.S., but I still have to pay U.S. taxes and Panama taxes. So if you're self-employed and all your income is generated in the U.S., you're not going to owe any taxes in Panama at all. And if you live in Panama full-time, you'll qualify for the foreign earned income exclusion, which means the first $120,000 of your income is excluded from your U.S. tax returns. So you're still going to have to file a tax return in the U.S. You may still have to pay taxes in the U.S., but the first $120,000 of your income is not taxable in the U.S. So you could get a raise when you move to Panama. It's worth moving to Panama just for that. Are Panama banks safe enough to keep large amounts of money? Yes, Panama banks are very safe. I just did an article about that, so look at our website and about the safety of the Panama banks and the liquidity level. It's completely different than it is in the United States. So look for my article on our blog about the safety of Panama banks. Also, savings accounts in Panama, you can earn like 2.5% interest. Some is 3.5% interest on just a regular savings account. So, Christy, do you need to have a visa in process to get large packages via mail forwarding? No, you do not have to have a visa at all to get packages sent to you using mail forwarding. You just need to contact the mail forwarding companies, and we have a list of those in our online guide. They'll give you an address in Florida, and then the things are sent to Florida, and they're sent right where you are. You don't need to have a visa. Whenever you get, if anybody gets ready to ship like a container of things to Panama, a 20-foot or 40-foot container, you do have to have a visa to be able to do that. How much can I purchase 1 acre of land for in Boquete? So it depends, you know. Boquete has a lot of different areas. Some areas are more expensive than others. I think I've seen 1 acre for sale for as little as $30,000, and I've seen it as much as $300,000 for 1 acre of land. So it just depends. There's not one right answer. What are the best ways to find a 3 to 6 month rental? So if it's just a 3-month rental, your best bet is probably to go to Airbnb and contact the owners directly and negotiate a discount if you rent it for 3 months. For a 6-month rental, that's considered long-term in Panama, a 6-month rental. So you can find those on Craigslist Panama. You can find them on Facebook Marketplace, some of the real estate websites. But to get the very best prices, once again, you need to be boots on the ground in Panama and just talk to people, and they can tell you about some really great deals for rentals. Nick wants to know, can I own a firearm there in Panama? I'm a retired law enforcement officer and I believe in the Second Amendment. So yes, Nick, you can own a firearm in Panama, but you can't own it until you get a gun permit in Panama. The fact that you're retired law enforcement is going to make it much easier for you, but you need to have your permanent visa, and then you can apply for your gun permit. It might take 3 months for you to get your gun permit, and then you can own firearms in Panama. How complicated is it to bring my pet? It's not complicated, but it is a time-sensitive process to bring your pet into Panama. We have a whole article on our website about bringing your pets to Panama, so you should check that out. I can tell you that 30 days before you're going to be coming to Panama, you need to make sure your pets are up to date on all of their shots. 10 days before you come to Panama, you need to get an international health certificate. That health certificate has to be authenticated by your agriculture department. So if you're in the U.S., that would be the USDA. And then that has to be authenticated by the Panama consulate. So that's to get your pet out of your country. And then to get the pet into the country, there's some forms that you have to fill out, and I have those all on the links to those in the article about bringing your pets to Panama. Pets are required to have a 40-day quarantine. That means they have to stay in your house or on your property for the first 40 days they're in Panama. But check out our article about bringing pets. Hi, Jackie. We have a 9-year-old son. Are there any English-speaking schools in David, Boquete, or Volcan? So yes, there are. In Boquete, a little bit south of Boquete, there's an international school. In Volcan, there's a bilingual school, so they'll transition him to learning Spanish also. The one in Volcan is only $80 a month. I think the one in Boquete, I'm not sure about the prices, but I think it's $165 a month. And then David, I know they do have some international schools in David also. The Oxford School and the King's School are in David, so several different schools. What are the approximate cost to ship a pallet from Miami to Pedicey? So the approximate cost, if it's just a pallet, which is 4 feet by 4 feet by 4 feet, is going to be about $1,500. So, another question. Do the Panamanian banks have a similar insurance like the FDIC in the U.S.? No, there's no insurance on your money in the Panama bank. What people do in Panama, they don't put all their eggs in one basket. So you might have 2 or 3 or even 4 different bank accounts and just have a little bit in each one of them. And then if necessary, you can quickly, just with online, you can move money around from one bank to another. So where's Buster? Buster's asleep. He is over there on the bed taking a nap. He's not here. Do you need a license for lake or river fishing? There's no license required for fishing on a lake, river, or in the ocean in Panama. I'm afraid of snakes. I know I have a lot of venomous snakes. So yeah, Panama's in the tropics, and there's definitely going to be snakes in Panama. I can tell you that the higher up the elevation, the less chance that you're going to run into any snakes. But you may encounter one. It's possible. In the whole time I've been in Panama, I've only seen one. In 13 years, I've only seen one snake. So it's not like you're going to see them every day. Is the mail forwarding setup process completely virtual, or do you need to be in Panama? The mail forwarding process is completely virtual. We have a list of mail forwarding companies that we recommend, and you need to have one that's in the town where you're going to live. And they will give you an address in Florida, Miami or Doral, Florida, where you'll send your packages. So the whole thing can be done just through email or a phone call to set up an account. You don't need to be in Panama. Are there any cryptocurrency talk or news? Is crypto on the radar at all? So there was actually some legislation that the Assembly in Panama, which is like the Congress in Panama, they passed that they were going to be more progressive about using crypto in Panama, but the president of Panama vetoed that, so they didn't do it. So it's not used very much. Some businesses will allow you to pay for their services, like some of the tour companies will allow you to pay for their services in crypto, but it's not a big thing in Panama, not yet. It probably will be someday, but not yet. Monique wants to know, are there scorpions in Volcan? Yes, there's going to be scorpions in Volcan. I can tell you that, especially if you live close to where coffee plants are, coffee plants and scorpions just kind of go hand in hand. If you're further away from where the coffee plants are, then you're not going to have so many scorpions. Or if you live close to a river or stream, then the chances of you seeing scorpions in your house are going to be slim. My exterminator, I don't know if it's true, but my exterminator said that the only reason scorpions come in your house, and that's mostly only during the dry season, is because they're looking for moisture, because it's so windy and it's so dry outside. They want to get away from the sound of the wind, and they're looking for water. So if you live close to a river, then you're not going to have scorpions. You know, I just recently spent about 3 months in Valle de Anton, And I had a river in the back of my property and 2 waterfalls. And the whole time I was there, I never, even though it was the dry season and the windy season, I never saw a scorpion. So is it a better idea to just leave your Social Security income in a U.S. bank and only use your debit Visa card to access your funds? Honestly, Michael, I would say that yes, it's better to just have your Social Security income go into your Panama bank. And this is what you can do. Go into your U.S. bank. So have your Social Security go into your U.S. bank. But you need to have a Panama bank account. I would highly recommend that. And you can actually write a check from your U.S. bank and deposit that into your Panama bank account. A lot of the banks have a $3,000 a month limit. One of the banks, Banisma, will let you do up to $9,000 a month. You can just write a check and deposit it. It'll take about a week or two for it to clear, but then it only costs $10. There's no wire fees that are involved. But that's the quick and easy way for you to get access to your Social Security income that you leave in the bank in the United States. Is there any talk of switching from the US dollar to the yuan? Nope, no talk of switching to a different currency. Panama, like I said, they've used the US dollars for about 120 years, and there's no talk of them switching to something different. So I see that you guys still have a lot of other questions. And you know, whenever the Panama was shut down for COVID, I did these weekly Q&A calls, and sometimes they would go for 2 hours, 2.5 hours, but it's just too long to listen to the replay. So even for these live streams, I could go 2 or 3 hours and keep on answering your questions, but then it's too long to listen to the replay. So I try to limit it to just 1 hour. It saves my voice. It's easier for you. So at 6 o'clock, we've been doing this Q&A for a whole hour. If anybody has a really important question that you'd like to ask, you can always send an email to info@PanamaRelocationTours.com, and we'll be glad to answer your questions there. And we'll do another one of these Retire in Panama Q&A live streams next month, so you can ask a question then also. But thanks so much for taking your time on Saturday to spend an hour with me to get some answers to your questions. And I know even from the questions that other people ask that you haven't even thought of, you'll learn something new. And be sure and check out our website, PanamaRelocationTours.com. And if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have 3 new videos coming out really soon, and you'll be the first one to know about it if you subscribe to our YouTube channel. I hope you have a really good weekend for the rest of the weekend. Goodbye, everybody.